Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Breckland Council on the 21st of September for Breckland Council meeting. Agenda item 1. Have you, yes, sorry, Julie. Have you yeah, okay. Julie, the roll call, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Anscombe? Yeah. Councillor Ashby? Present. Councillor Askew? Present. Councillor Atterwill? Present. Councillor Bambridge? Here. Councillor Bate? Present. Councillor Annie Blackburn? Councillor David Blackburn? Yes. Councillor Borrett? Present. Councillor Bowes? Here. Councillor Brindle? Here. Councillor Marion Chapman-Allen? Present. Councillor Sam Chapman-Allen? Here. Councillor Clark? Present. Councillor Clausen? Here. Councillor Cogman? Present. Councillor Cowan? Councillor Crane? Present. Councillor Duffield? Here. Councillor Eagle? Here. Councillor Fraser? Here. Councillor Gilbert? Councillor Harvey? Present. Councillor Hewitt? Councillor Jermy? Here. Councillor Cadell? Here. Councillor Kiddle-Morris? Councillor Kybird? Here. Councillor Land? Here. Councillor McCambridge? Here. Councillor Monument? Present. Councillor Morton? Here. Councillor Nunn? Morning. Councillor O'Callaghan? Here. Councillor Oliver? Present. Councillor Plummer? Here. Councillor Richmond? Present. Councillor Sherwood? Councillor Suggett? Present. Councillor Samantha Taylor? Here. Councillor Sarah Taylor? Yeah. Councillor Taylor Taylor? Here. Councillor Terry? Here. Councillor Thurban? Present. Councillor Turner? Here. Councillor Webb? Here. Councillor Wickerson? Councillor Wilkin? And Councillor Wilkinson. Here. Any apologies, Julie, please? Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Gilbert, Councillor Hewitt, Councillor Kiddle-Morris, Councillor Sherwood, Councillor Wickerson and Councillor Wilkin. Thank you, Julie. I will accept those apologies. Yeah, is there any further apologies? Sorry, Terry.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies from Councillor Annie Blackburn as well, please.
Apology from Councillor Cowan, please.
Who's mentioned?
Councillor Wilkin, sorry, Councillor Wilkin.
Yeah, they had been mentioned.
Sorry.
Yeah. Right, okay. Right. Any more apologies? Okay. That's it then for that. Item 2 on your agenda are the minutes in your agenda pack, pages 3 to 18. Has anybody got any questions on that? Are they a true record?
Agreed.
Can I sign them? Yeah. Okay. Good. Item 3 on your agenda, declarations of interest. Have any members have any interest to declare set out in chapter 7 of the Localism Act 2011? Seems to be none. Okay. Item 4, Chairman's announcements. You'll see in your agenda pack 19 to 20 the events I've attended and a couple there which my deputies attended. And at the moment today I will be asking the Lee Hart from SANS, my bereavement charity, to come and have a couple of words with you and explain about the charity and how the funding we will try and raise will help his society. Thank you. So I'll invite Lee to come up, please.
Thank you. Hello everyone, thanks very much for affording me a few minutes of your time. I'm Lee Hart, so I'm here on behalf of Norfolk SANDS. SANDS, the national charity, is the Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Society, specialises in providing support to bereaved parents, anyone affected by baby loss or neonatal death. Norfolk SANDS particularly is the Norfolk arm of a wide network of SANDS groups. We cover from the East Coast, Great Yarmouth, North Norfolk, across to Kings Lynn. There is a dedicated Kings Lynn group. They work slightly differently to our particular branch, but we cover across to the QE hospital, really. As I say, we're here to offer peer support to anybody affected, parents, grandparents, family, friends, anybody that's been affected by any stillbirth or neonatal loss, whether that's very recent or a long time ago. We offer peer support through email, phone and monthly support meetings, both adult support meetings and more family-friendly events. We offer those predominantly in Norwich. The adult support meetings are the second Thursday of every month. We offer bi-monthly bereavement groups at Colney Wood, the Memorial Park, Burial Park, and we also offer monthly family-orientated groups. A lot of our work is done with parents and anyone affected, but there are important liaisons with the local hospitals, talking about fundraising. Any funds that you guys are able to raise for us will be dedicated towards most likely the Queen Elizabeth, which we're looking to provide some support with regards to a new bereavement suite, which we're in early contact with. We've recently done a similar project with the James Paget, and last year did something similar with the Norfolk and Norwich. So it's very important that we have strong ties with the local hospitals and associated organisations. SANDS are part of the National Bereavement Pathway, which is a training and learning process for new midwives, health professionals, in terms of the latest training regarding stats and progress within training for dealing and helping anybody bereaved, primarily obviously the bereaved mother and parents. There is a dedicated football team for Norwich, so anybody, primarily that's been aimed at the fathers who historically and can find it difficult to go and seek support. So SANDS have a network now of football teams. Norwich is probably about 6 to 7 months old. That's going great guns, led by a guy called Guy. So again, that's the idea is to bring men into the light to talk about their experiences, about their worries, about their grief. So that's something that we're very proud of. That's going great guns. Just a little bit in terms of what we do in terms of awareness events. We hold various sort of craft events. We'll attend events at the Forum and stuff like that. Primarily, though, we have a couple of main events still left this year. We have our Starlight Walk, which is on the wrong page, the 6th of October, I think. Yeah, the 6th of October at Whitlingham Country Park. That's a walk where we invite people to join us in remembering their loved ones, but it's again also a very safe and nice space for people to talk and get to know each other and find out what support's out there. And then lastly, towards the end of the year, we have a carol service that this year will be held at Colney Wood at Green Acres. That's Friday the 8th of December, and again that's a space for people to come and remember their loved ones closer to Christmas, which is again quite a difficult time for many parents and families affected by any baby loss. So yeah, in short, we're a group of volunteers. We've all got day jobs, so sometimes we can't always be reactive as possible and how we'd like, but we're obviously looking to expand our awareness. Now we've got a committee that's a little bit stronger, we can sort of move out a little bit. We've been a little bit confined to supporting in Norwich over the last couple of years. COVID obviously had its impact on that as well. But we've now got a team where we can expand a bit sort of into this area towards the sort of Kings Lynn area and further out to the east and north. So we're proud of what we're doing, and it's going great guns, and we're looking forward to hopefully having stronger links with local councils. Really appreciate everything you're looking to do to us, and any events that you've got coming up that we can attend and that we can support, literature, anything like that, we'll obviously become involved. So yeah, thank you very much. Brilliant, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lee. Very much appreciated. While I'm on Chairman's announcements, just touch on the point where Lee mentioned volunteers. It's occurred to me this last few months as Chairman of your council, the world, the country, Breckland wouldn't run without volunteers. It's incredible. I've actually had the privilege to speak with 3 volunteers in Thetford, 3 ladies who put themselves out there litter picking in the community, and they might not, and they won't mind me saying, but they're not on the young end of the scale. They're getting on, and one lady was in a wheelchair, and you think she's out there doing stuff in the community, and that was an honour to give them the Chairman's Unsung Volunteers Award. And also, while I'm on that as well, I popped into the Charles Burrell Centre grocery shop, which was a Breckland supported, funded along with other agencies, first grocery hub of its type in Breckland, which is helping, and that is run by volunteers. I went and thanked and met the volunteers and thanked those guys as well in there, and it just shows you what we can achieve together, bringing people together and helping. That brings me on to the charity walk. I'd like to thank everybody who donated and those who walked. Officers and members will agree it wasn't just a walk, it was a Carlsberg walk. We had the lunch, we had a visit to the 19th century whaling industry bone mill, and lunch at the museum there in Narborough, which recognises the 1914 airfield, which a lot of people don't really understand about, and it was training for the American and British pilots during the First World War. So the total we raised for that was £470, and that's not including the gift aid. So I really appreciate everybody who donated and went on the walk. The next event I've got is a quiz night on the 6th of October, George Hotel, Swaffham. Their invites have all gone out. I'd love everybody to come and put a team together. It's an opportunity for the officers to put teams together, to prove who is the smartest team in Team Breckland. My money's on housing, because I've got a member there who's writing the quiz for me. But then again, you've got planning with those guys with letters behind the name. So if anybody wants to run a book, be very careful there. The odds will be very, very high. Yeah, so it'd be great if you could all come along, please. Every penny which will be raised on the night from ticket sales, and there is food available in that ticket, and raffle prizes is also going to be run. Every penny will be going to the charities. Okay, thank you very much for that, for indulging me. So we move on to item 5, and I'd like to invite our leader, Councillor Sam Chapman-Allen, for his announcements, please.
Lovely, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Lee, and all your volunteers across the Sands charity for the incredible work you're doing. And actually, I think the work through Peter as Chairman, highlighting that incredible work, those unsung heroes, and making everybody throughout our community aware of how they can support, but also the ability to access your charity. And I know that people in this chamber have been affected and are grateful for the support of your charity. Councillors, welcome back to the Chamber for our first council meeting of autumn, and by Jove, the weather has changed in the last couple of weeks. And as we return following the summer, it's been a year since the sad passing of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, and of course her portrait still hangs behind us, as His Majesty the King's official portrait hasn't yet been provided. But it allows us to have an understanding of that inspiration and that life dedicated to exemplary public service. And continuing Her late Majesty's legacy, the King Charles will deliver his first Nation's King speech since 1951, setting forward his government's legislative agenda with a State Open of Parliament on the 7th of November this year. It's an agenda which will impact the residents of Breckland and something which all of us will be following very closely, particularly in relation to the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill. And while the summer is a time for us to enjoy the weather and take a break, the important work of this council continues throughout that period, 365 days a year. And we should all remember the fantastic job which we as members, but also our officers and our partners do day in, day out. And Chairman, just a couple of bits I'd like to highlight, please. Stage and Screen, stand fast, all the other market towns, but for Thetford, we had a fantastic festival once again, which in thousands of people were able to come together and enjoy that 4-day festival, working with the Town Council and other partners to deliver that great mix of classic films, street food, and enchanting outdoor theatre and performance. A Midsummer Night's Dream, Buck, a sense of sensibility, and that magical position of being in that Thetford Priory with that backdrop. With Back to the Future, Matilda, Mona, don't know what Mona is, at the Riverside Complex on that cinema, stage and screen. I know what Matilda is though. Allowing everybody to come together throughout the ages and using that Breckland space, but more importantly, work with our partners to deliver that fantastic enrichment for everybody, not just those Thetford residents, but everyone across the district and visitors coming to our fine district and our fine county. And I look forward to working with other town councils over these coming months to deliver their ambitions for any activities they want to undertake in their market towns. Chairman, moving on to our community health workers, and we've seen a huge positive impact amongst some of our district's most vulnerable residents, thanks to our community health workers. To date, the team have carried out 1,400 visits since February, delivering that wraparound service and that intervention when people need it most. This includes helping residents apply for that financial support for those who are eligible, liaising with GP surgeries, which we can know can sometimes be daunting or frustrating on those residents' behalves, and arranging those housing repairs or improvements to their home environment and improving their wider general health. Residents have told us that this service and this support has allowed them to access the services which they didn't think they would be able to, navigate the difficult challenges and ensure that they can live those independent lives in their homes, and that's been provided by officers to those residents and will continue to do that incredible work. Chairman, the Meanwhile project, which some of you are aware of, this is about us protecting people's lives, and Breckland Council has been doing this, and we will continue to protect people's livelihoods. And I'm delighted that the report that our Meanwhile project is going from strength to strength, supporting those existing businesses and startups right across the district, and ensuring that our high streets and our service centres are really vibrant places and spaces. The scheme looks to bring in disused shops and buildings back into our high streets into use, supporting those emerging businesses and giving them the support they need to break into the high streets or those shopping precincts, and giving local people yet another reason to ensure they're shopping local. Breckland has so far engaged over 100 local businesses and supported 12 entrepreneurs, awarding over £100,000 in financial support. This has helped to fill 600 square metres of previously vacant commercial space in our community and created over 19 jobs throughout the district, but more importantly, allowing our local residents to access the services and the facilities they need. And I'm sure that, Chairman, you'll agree that this shows that Breckland is once again on the front foot, creating those jobs and that economy locally here within the district. Chairman, I want to update members on the local plan and the engagement which has taken place so far. And it isn't just the district's current need we're facing and focusing on, but we're always looking to their future. And many of you will be aware that we're currently developing the latest plan for our local plan review. And this will shape how Breckland looks and feels over several decades to come, helping to inform how our towns and villages will evolve over time, where we need those much needed houses, where we need those employment locations, and where we need that open space and leisure facilities to ensure that everybody can thrive. We've already engaged those initial stages through developing the local plan, and now we're getting ready to take the conversation onto our high streets and into our villages and market squares. Over the coming weeks, residents will have the opportunity to engage face-to-face across our 5 market towns as that hub and spoke, and online, to ensure that their issues and their concerns are heard by us and are used as the blueprint for our future thoughts and feelings around the local plan, and lifting that fantastic work we did through our Future Breckland activity, where 20,000 residents engaged through that process. All of their views will help us as members to design our local plan and deliver what Breckland wants to look like for future generations, for our children and for our grandchildren. And I urge all of you in this chamber, please, through your social media, through your residents' associations, through your parish councils, please do encourage all of your community to get involved, as it's those voices we need to hear about. And Chairman, the final 2 bits I just want to touch on are the APSI and the Queen Mother's Garden Award. And echoing the ambitions of our residents, it will come no surprise to anybody in this room that we are always an ambitious organisation led by you, the members of this council. And we pride ourselves on that vision, innovation and our desire to deliver the best services we can for the best outcomes for our people. So, when the hard work is recognised by prestigious national organisations such as the British Association of Landscape Industries and the Association of Public Service Excellence, or APSI, we are immensely proud that we've been able to do that in partnership with others to providing those services our residents ask for. This council was represented last week at the APSI conference, where we had the opportunity to discuss on a national stage the best way to overcome the challenges facing local councils across the country. And with that in mind, I was delighted and honoured that this council was shortlisted for 2 awards. One, our Elm House Award and our accommodation, providing that much needed intervention for those who find themselves in homelessness, and for our property team and the excellent approach it's taken to how we manage our commercial property estate. And that long-term approach ensuring that this council generates £3 million income year on year through our commercial property, ensuring that financial burden doesn't fall to the taxpayers. Whilst, Chairman, sadly, we didn't win any of those awards, it's important that we were shortlisted and recognised for that fantastic success. But also, Chairman, that doesn't stop there. The much loved Queen Mother's Garden in Dereham, in which we were awarded the best regeneration scheme for under £500,000, that by the British Association of Landscape Industries. That's a really important achievement, showing that what we can do in partnership with some of that money to deliver that much needed improvement to our high streets and market towns, linking back into our Future Breckland activity, which our residents asked us to focus our activity on. Chairman, I think this amplifies the incredible work all of us are doing day in, day out across the district. And Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions under item 7. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Leader, for that comprehensive report. Item 6, questions under notice on standing order number 6. I have not received any. Item 7, questions without notice, standing order number 7. If I can ask, please, that questions you might have are directed to the leader or relevant portfolio holder, and please phrase your question in your first couple of sentences. Thank you very much. So, Councillor, I'll invite Councillor Jeremy as the leader of the main opposition party to go first.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Sam, for your update. It's not Mona, it's Moana. And it's quite interesting, actually, because it leads me into my question, because Moana's a film where a community has to vacate and move away because essentially the environment collapses where they are. It's a good watch. And it leads me into my question, because I wanted to ask about nutrient neutrality. Of all the casework I get at the moment, sewage into our seas and oceans, and particularly concerns about river networks across the district, is right up there. I'm getting a lot of correspondence from people, and I think that represents how passionate we are in Breckland about our environment, and particularly recognises rare chalk streams that we have. We're very lucky to have them. Now, I must confess, Sam, I don't know what the current policy is of the government today. I know what it was last week, but of course it may change today. But if the government were to scrap nutrient neutrality laws, will our rivers in Breckland be at further risk And will you, as leader of the council, be lobbying the government to make sure our river networks are protected? Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. If you have the DVD, I'm more than happy to borrow it, and I'll let you know what my review is. So in relation to nutrient neutrality, I think it's really important to highlight that actually prior to Natural England change of policy, this fell to the water boards as the responsible agent in relation to that. My view is that it is not the responsibility of the district council to deal with those type of activities. The water board is the statutory body, and they should be responsible to undertake the activities they require to ensure that our chalk streams, our waterbeds, our riverways and our seas are at the highest possible standard. And I think, Terry, you'll be acutely aware of the housing challenges many of our residents are facing. Yesterday, we had 118 individuals in temporary accommodation. Nutrient neutrality has paused housing growth across Breckland, Norfolk and the country. In Norfolk, some 10,000 units, across the country, some 100,000 units, with 140,000 homes or households in temporary accommodation across the country. I absolutely acknowledge that the environment has a really important role to play, but I don't think it should be at the detriment of those individuals who need much needed homes. We need to do this in twin step and together. We need to ensure that those individuals who are responsible are held accountable, and that's the water boards. But we need to ensure through Breckland, through our planning policies, for our emerging local plan review, for our design code activities and for our fantastic planning officers and our planning committee, that we ensure that any development which moves forward is done in a sympathetic way, and those mitigations which should be put in place, whatever they may be, are put in place through those conditions in that plan application, whilst we're delivering those much needed houses across the district. So no, I will not be lobbying the government to not roll back on nutrient neutrality. I will be lobbying the government to ensure that they hold the water boards and those other bodies to account to ensure that what they're responsible for, they deliver upon.
Count Atterwill.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to the leader. Sam, can you please provide members with an update on this council's progress in relation to two grant schemes? Firstly, this council's been allocated, I believe, £1,041,797 from the government as part of the Rural Prosperity Fund. This money is earmarked to provide support for rural businesses by way of capital grants for small-scale investment in micro and small enterprises in rural areas, and including capital funding for net zero infrastructure for rural creation, expansion of rural leisure and tourism businesses. The fund's supposed to be spent over the financial years 23-24 and 24-25. Having received an opposition briefing on this fund from officers, I'm concerned that it is now likely this council will not award any grants in the current financial year, and that the Breckland allocation scheme is still not decided and ready to roll out and provide much needed help for local businesses. Why is this taking so long, and will you seek to speed up the process? And secondly, as you'll know, this council's had a proud tradition of providing an annual community grant scheme in the range of £100,000 a year, which helps provide match funding for community-led projects across the district. We're now almost 6 months into this financial year, and the council's been strangely silent on a scheme for this year. Can you please provide members with an update on when the scheme will be launched and the fund size for 23-24? Thank you.
Nice and easy, work backwards. So Breckland's match funding pot, which we've allocated year on year, is part of our our Inspiring Communities activity. We haven't yet signed off Inspiring Communities Mark II yet. That will come through over these coming weeks and months under Councillor Ashby as the Cabinet member. We've been working with partners to deliver that, and I think it's fair to say that I need to ensure that any match funding we are providing to our communities aligns to this council's strategic priorities and our focus, and part of that is our Inspiring Communities work. So as one of the only councils across the district to still give such large grants to our communities, which all of us are immensely proud of, we are still committed to doing that over this term of this council. In relation to the the Rural Prosperity Fund and DEFRA, members will be aware of our submission for that. That was approved for our business plan with DEFRA, and everything we've said we're going to spend the money on, we will be spending the money on.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This is a question for Councillor Ellen Crane. Thank you. Would Councillor Crane care to comment on, and will she be making representations to Norfolk County Council in the light of proposals floated yesterday in the media at Norfolk County Council about residents having to make appointments at recycling centres? This very much seems to go back in reverse. The government's making it easier for people to recycle, which is what we all want, rather than dumping stuff and adding extra burdens on local government, and we always pick up the bill. We're scrapping recycling charges soon, so this seems to be going back into reverse. We know that Breckland does a tremendous job in clearing areas up, highlighting offenders, etc., and I'm sure I don't want us to spend more time having to clear things up, as it may have an impact on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I'm glad you've highlighted the wonderful job that our team do here at Breckland with fly tipping. It's not something that's come onto my radar, but I will look into it, and certainly if representation needs to be made, I will make it.
Thank you. Councillor Cogman.
Addressed to Councillor Sarah Suggett. Norfolk County Council and Breckland District Council have been encouraging and reminding householders of their riparian responsibilities. Does the District Council have any powers to carry out drainage works and then recover the costs from the responsible landowners? And if so, under what circumstances would the Council exercise these powers?
Wow. So we are part of the Norfolk Strategic Flood Alliance, and while sitting on lots of those meetings, it's really clear that it's not clear cut as to who has responsibility for certain areas. If within households, it is your right and responsibility to make sure that you don't cover up ditches, and if you do, that is up to the county council usually to go in there and to get those and to help those residents to understand what they've done and to put right what it is what they've done wrong. The Norfolk Strategic Flood Alliance is a really important group which has been set up to try and allow people to understand, and there's lots of work and literature which is going out for residents, for businesses, for community groups to know where to report those things, so that different groups, associations, it might be ourselves, it might be county council, it might be Anglia Water, can help those people, residents, businesses, or our own individual bodies who are responsible for those areas to right any wrongs what there may have been to help with the alleviation of any floodwaters. But if there is anything which you notice in your patch, if it's not us, we will always be able to help nudge you in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Cambridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to direct my question to Helen Crane, please. So I'd like to raise a question about street-side litter bins in Breckland town centres and around our communities. These are emptied by Serco on behalf of Breckland, and as I understand it, none of the litter is recycled from waste collected from the litter bins, from litter picks, and from street sweeping. It's all sent to general waste facilities. And last year, this amounted to 1,670 tonnes of waste. Evidence shows that with clearly labelled bins, coloured signs and providing education around the use of bins, it's possible to have a good recycling success rate. And there are plenty of areas in England running waste collection services where glass, cans and paper are separated. And it would be a really positive step for Serco litter pickers to have the facilities to recycle what waste they do collect, which is in a fit state for recycling. Will the Cabinet member commit to investigating whether Breckland can introduce new ways of working to increase the amount of material to be recycled from street-side litter bins?
Thank you, Councillor McCambridge. That was a very long question, but I do have an answer for you. I'm chair of the Norfolk Waste Partnership, you may or may not know, and a big part of our work stream is to educate and improve our recycling rates. We are required as a council to report our tonnage totals every quarter through waste data flow, and we do not have the tonnage just for the litter bins because, as you know, they get disposed of along with the road sweepings and that. The big problem is a lot of this is contaminated, and after visiting the mixed recycling facility at Cossey, which I know you're interested in visiting yourself, as soon as something is contaminated, the whole load is contaminated. So at present, it's best that it's all disposed of as waste. And none of our waste goes to landfill anyway. With the new waste reforms coming through, it wouldn't be wise to look at that at the present time, but it doesn't mean that we won't do. So leave it with me, and as soon as I know anything, I will bring it to you. Thank you.
Councillor Kybird, your question, please.
Thank you, Chairman. A question for the leader on the subject of nutrient neutrality. 100% of current pollution comes from existing housing stock and agriculture. And why should new housing have a £10,000 per unit tax put on it to deal with a problem that already exists? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kybird. So I guess I'll refer back to my previous comments to Councillor Jeremy's question. We need to ensure that those bodies who are responsible invest in the infrastructure and ensure that we're protecting our waterways and our seas. And absolutely, there will be requirements for any new build through planning permissions, future policies this council puts through its local plan process for those type of mitigations to be put in place. But actually, we must ensure the existing infrastructure is brought up to spec for that existing housing stock, and therefore anything as it's moving forward is sympathetic and doesn't detract from that. However, I come back to my previous comment, we must do that twin step between housing growth, which we need across the district, and ensuring we protect our fantastic environment.
Councillor Terry, your question, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's a question for Councillor Ashby. Sport is a universal language that brings together all parts of society. This is most often seen when our nation's sports teams do well in major tournaments or during the Olympics, when people who usually show no interest in any sport are suddenly engaged and are talking about it on the street or in the supermarkets. Physical activity is also vitally important for everyone, and it brings about both physical and mental health benefits. One area that is currently relevant is the role of exercise during the COVID-19 global pandemic. Exercise was listed as one of the reasons to be outside, and taking responsibility for individual health and well-being through exercise is important. Sport is not just a health activity for teenagers to be involved with, but it also has many ethically and mentally positive impacts, from supporting important causes and charities, meeting new friends and building on teamwork, all contribute to improving our own mental health and preparing our next generation for the future. It also makes sure our young residents feel safe to explore their own identity. Practice sport and follow their dreams could make the difference in them maintaining a positive relationship with exercise into adulthood. The health and well-being of the people from Breckland is a priority to all of us at any time, and never more so than now, given the past events of the last few years. This is a timely opportunity to take a strategic look at provision in the district and identify areas of Breckland that would benefit from additional facilities, making it easier for them to take part in leisure and sporting activities. A study should look at provision across a wide range of sports and facilities, and should include consultations with clubs and public and parish councils and schools to ensure voices of all those with an interest are heard. It should also specifically address disability provision, and should consider both structured through clubs and unstructured for free activities, example in walking and cycling trails. This study should not directly lead to the development of new facilities, but it should give the council a clear picture as to what is needed. It will inform the development of strategies for sports provision, and it will mean that the applications for grants and funding are more likely to succeed because they will be backed by strong evidence. Will Breckland agree to participate into looking at such a project and look at creating a sports and recreational officer within the district?
Thank you very much for that short question. I think in addition to what you said, yeah, it benefits teamwork, discipline, individual responsibility. So I'm absolutely signed up to all the benefits that recreational exercise provides. And we are always open to identifying other ways in which we can expand opportunities for people of all ages across all parts of Breckland, where they can participate in team or individual activities, and happy to look at that at a further stage. We also are very keen on working with all clubs and associations and identifying, because some are hard to reach, some we're not necessarily aware of. So the officers and teams that we've got across Breckland will be looking to undertake that work as well. So thank you very much.
Councillor Bate, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Question for the leader. Following yesterday's announcements from the Prime Minister, where does that leave any plans we may have had for 7 bins per household?
Thanks, Councillor Bates. So I'm pleased that the Prime Minister has acknowledged that rolling out 7 bins across the country is not an appropriate thing to do, and it should be for local leaders, us in this room, to decide how we manage and deliver our waste services for our communities. So as far as we're concerned, it's still the same position for us, delivering our fortnightly bin collection, encouraging everybody across the district to improve and increase their recycling, and we'll continue to do that in partnership with colleagues across Norfolk through the Norfolk Waste Partnership.
Any more questions from anyone who hasn't answered the question? Councillor.
This question is for Councillor Clausen. It refers in part to comments made by the leader earlier on regarding the events put on in Thetford. I completely agree with all his comments. I attended many, and it was truly wonderful, with the exception of the one day we all huddled under a gazebo getting soaking wet. I'd like to pay tribute to the officers who helped make that a reality, but would ask you what plans we've got for coming years to retain these sort of events in Thetford, please.
Totally agree with everything you said about bringing people together, thanking the officers and everything. The simple answer is the dust hasn't settled yet. I have no doubt, being briefed by the officers very, very shortly as to what's happened, where it's happened, costs and everything else. As soon as I've got that, I'll be back in touch with you and let you know exactly where we're going. And for me, I'd like to see us be able to roll something like that out across all the market towns, but it can't just be Breckland. It's going to have to be in partnership if we're going to do that. But I think the model's there, and it's worth pursuing.
Councillor Sarah Taylor.
Thank you. In Councillor Hewitt's absence, perhaps the leader could respond to this, please. How confident are you that contracts awarded by the council deliver best possible value for Breckland?
So all our contracts have to go through that procurement process, and we've got, as a requirement through the Local Government Act, best value requirements to undertake. So every time a contract will come up for renewal, we'll undertake that appropriate process to do so. As politicians, we set the policy and parameters for that in line with the Crown Procurement Service. It's not my position as leader or the Cabinet member responsible to decide which contract is necessarily finally awarded. And for those minor contracts, major contracts, as you'll be aware, through waste and historically planning, have always come through this council to ratify those in line with our constitution. If you have any concerns around any of the contracts, please can you raise it with the Chief Executive for us to look into.
Thank you. Any more questions from members who haven't asked one?
Councillor O'Callaghan.
Councillor O'Callaghan.
Thank you. This is a question for Councillor Claire Bowes. Could you confirm the process of housing associations selling stock? I read with interest the sale of properties in Litcham that was allegedly in perfect condition. And who decides what to sell?
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get back to you with an answer on that, please? Because it might require a bit of detail. So if we could get back to you, is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah, we'll accept for councillors that she will get back to members by email at a later date.
And Chairman, can I just expand? The reason why Councillor Bowes doesn't want to comment initially is because there are some 14 housing providers across the district. We always look to probably one or two, but to give a fulsome response across the piece, and some of those relationships we've got with some of them around, they give us first refusal, it's appropriate to give a written comment. So Councillor Bowes is absolutely right.
Thank you, Leader. Any more questions from who hasn't asked one already? If not, I will invite the Labour Leader, Councillor Terry Jeremy, to ask another question. She has one.
Thank you, Chairman. I had a question for Phil Cowan. So, sorry, Sam, I'll send it your way. I'm sure this is legislation that you're familiar with, the Public Contract Regulation Act 2015. What that does is it requires authorities like Breckland to pay undisputed invoices within 30 days. Cash flow is absolutely crucial for small businesses, so I was disappointed to see on our website, which tracks our performance on this issue, it's the worst it has been for 5 years. We only pay 92% of our suppliers with a valid invoice within 30 days. And I was going to ask if the Cabinet member was aware of that, and will he look into improving that position, because I think it's really important that we as a council set the standard and pay small businesses with a valid invoice within 30 days, not just 92% of them.
Thanks, Councillor Jeremy. I'm not aware myself, but that doesn't mean that the relevant director, assistant director and cabinet member aren't aware and taking actions around it. I'm sure through your role as chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission, that will be an item you'll be looking into.
Thank you. Count Ashwell, have you got another question?
Yep. Thank you. In the absence of Councillor Hewitt, another one for you, Sam. It's now several months since Council has received an update on the proposed sale of Barnum Broom Golf and Country Club. I think it would be most helpful if all members received an in-confidence update on the progress of this sale. But in the first instance, would you be willing to meet with myself and the Leader of the Opposition to discuss this and provide some clarity and confidence concerning the current status of this asset sale?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hewitt made the pledge to update members on any updates and changes in relation to that work and activity. As there have been no substantial updates, that's why no all-member briefing has been offered. However, I'm always delighted to meet with you and other group leaders on this matter or any other matter. Please do let the Chief Executive's PA or my PA know, and we'll make those arrangements.
Thank you. I'll invite Councillor Cogman to have another question.
Thank you. I think this is for Councillor Helen Crane. This is specific on food waste. So we can't get a figure of exactly how many million tonnes in the UK or in Breckland, but I just wondered what steps will Breckland take to address that specific issue of food waste? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Cogman. It's always our position at Breckland that we don't want food waste, so we encourage things like our community fridges, food that's given to our food bus, etc., through our inspiring communities. So we do keep an eye on it. We are resisting having food waste collections, but simply because our thoughts are that there should be as little food waste as possible. Thank you.
Okay, we've got another hand there. Councillor Sarah Taylor.
Thank you. And again, in Councillor Hewitt's absence, this might be appropriate for Councillor Suggett based on the previous question from Councillor Cogman. So quite a number of local residents have been in touch with Councillor Cogman and myself to bring attention to overgrown drains and ditches and the presence of invasive species on different watercourses. Some areas, thanks largely to Councillor Cogman's work, have been found to be Breckland owned. You just asked us to report these issues, which we have done, and we're pleased that those issues have been dealt with, but this is far too reactive. What is the Council doing as a member of the Strategic Flood Alliance to get its own house in order?
Thank you. Yeah, so where we've got some of those identified issues that you were referring to, who owns the land and who's responsible and who can get across it. As much as it sounds a really easy thing to say, it's not always an easy thing to say. Like you can all appreciate, this has been going on. It's not been for the want of not wanting to try and get on. It's been trying to get the right people in the right room to give the right access and the right powers in order to be able to do so. If we've got anything in our own land and on our own place which is not as it should be, we would absolutely do the most as what we can to rectify that and to get that all brought back in order. And one of the things which the Strategic Flood Alliance is doing is really helping those relationships. It's getting the right people in the rooms to try and help those things. There is a backlog of things across the county that needs to be addressed and to get sorted out, and unfortunately sometimes it's being up high enough on that pecking order to be able to get that done with other bodies that we need to work with, but it is helping us to identify what and how is best practice to sort out some of our own areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jeremy, have you any more questions? I have a minute. Councillor Atterwell.
Thank you, Chairman. This question is for Councillor Bowes regarding disabled facility grants. Claire, since you took up your post as Cabinet Member for Housing, you've assured councillors that you'll be lobbying local MPs for more money for this underfunded scheme, which can transform the lives of people suffering from limited mobility. Can you please provide councillors an update on your progress in relation to this matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atwell. Yes, we've been lobbying MPs, and the Secretary of State has been written to. It's still within the timeline for a response from him, so I'll update you on that in due course. Also, I'm looking at the possibility of bringing of a report coming to the Health and Wellbeing Board at the County Council. So I'm looking into that, and that will look at the issue of funding and the formula in the round, and I'll update you again on that, on how that goes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I can't see any more hands, so I will bring item 7 to a close, and I will move on to item 8 on your agendas, minutes of past meetings for information only. I will take any questions from members regarding the minutes. The Cabinet minutes for 3rd of July 2023, recommendations under minutes numbers 69, 23, 73, 23 and 74, 23 were considered and approved at the last full council meeting in July. Cabinet for the 11th of September, information in there on your agenda pack 32 to 36, governance and audit, information 37 to 46. The recommendations under the minutes 30/23 was considered and approved at the last full council, actually, for the 22nd of June's governance and audit. Planning 4th of July, planning 1st of August, and planning committee 29th of August. All the minutes are in your pack there, numbered from 47 to 82. Anybody have any questions on any of the minutes? No, thank you. So I'll move on to item 9, the Breckland Local Plan partial update. Information is in the agenda packs on pages 64 to 82. All members should have received a supplementary agenda to this report, which was published on Monday. I would like now to ask Councillor Sarah Suggett, the Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Strategic and Operational Planning, to present the report, excuse me, and then propose and quote the recommendations, which can be found on pages 64 of your agenda pack. Councillor Suggett.
Thank you, Chairman. The current local plan was adopted by this council on the 28th of November 2019. The plan included a requirement to undertake a partial review by November 2022. This review was to focus on housing, gypsy and travellers, home standards and economic development. In September 2021, Cabinet resolved to undertake a single policy review that sought to amend the plan and remove the date by which the partial review was required. An amended plan and supporting documentation were submitted to the Secretary of State for examination in November last year. Many of you will remember that the decision made by Cabinet back in September 2021 was very much debated and faced vocal opposition from some quarters. The opponents to this decision felt strongly that it would be unsuccessful, that it was unwarranted, that it would lead to delay, and that it would mean a loss of planning control. I am pleased to be able to say today that this challenge was unfounded and that the strong decision taken by our Cabinet has been fully and independently endorsed. The examination has been completed and the Respectors' report is in front of you. The plan has been deemed sound without modification. The inspector found the strategy taken to be logical, pragmatic, proportionate and reasonable given the circumstances that now prevail. The decision taken by Cabinet justified and effective. There have been no delays and controls remain in place. I think very much progress has been made over recent months on the review of the local plan, with all working collaboratively, and I hope that this can continue at pace on the back of this unquestionable success. I would like to also take this opportunity to say special thanks to Andy Darcy and his team. For us, I think it's easy for us to not completely understand what it is that goes on behind the scenes when compiling these reports and putting all of this together. But there's a huge amount of hard work, dedication, skill and pride taken in the work that the officers do on behalf of us every day. And this report today is testament of that hard work which we're lucky to have at the council. So the recommendations that I would like to make this morning are that we accept the inspector's report and her recommendations to make the local plan partial update sound as set out in Appendix A of this report, delegate authority to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with the portfolio holder for strategic and operational planning to make any further changes to address typographical errors or factual corrections, adopts the Breckland local plan partial update as set out in Appendix B of this report, and that adoption statement, Appendix C, and the final sustainability appraisal report, Appendix D, be issued in accordance with Regulation 17 and 26 of the Town and Country Planning, Local Planning Regulations 2012. And I would just like to add that we have been made aware that on page 82 there is a date error. So if we could just amend that and take it into account that the date of adoption currently says the 21st of September 2021, and that should say 21st of September 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Suggett. You've heard the proposals. Could I have a seconder for those proposals, please? Councillor Crane. Any questions? Councillor Atterwill?
Could I just echo what Councillor Suggett has just said, and well done on all the hard work that's carried out by Andy Darcy and the team. This is a good result, and I'm grateful to the officers and say well done. One query I do have is on the back of this, we've nailed the colours to the mast and said that we're going to get the local plan review done by the end of 2024. There's an awful lot of work that needs to be done in that time, considering we were looking at the end of 2026, so we brought that date forward, which is good in itself. But are you absolutely confident that we can get that done and make sure that we have got very good, robust public consultation periods in place throughout that? Because that's really important that we carry the local people with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aswell. Yes, I am confident that we're going to get that done and carried out in time. We've started, I think, on a really good foot. We've had some really good all-member briefings. We've got Filigree as our consultants who have been helping us to get the best out of them. I think with the best will in the world, some of us and some of the more informal ones that we've had up to this point, they've helped to form the view, and we can get a general underline as to what some of the the requirements and the thoughts and the processes are amongst us as members, but the work what Filigree are doing with us has been really helpful at trying to make the most out of that. As you all would have seen, we've got the town and parish council, the town and parish market stalls, which we're going to have out over the next sort of couple of months. That's all coinciding. I appreciate, you're saying there's a lot going on. They're all coinciding. We're not having to finish one bit to start the next. They're all coinciding. And I'd like to think that us working as a team much better than I think what may have happened previously is going to help us. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're not fighting against each other. So I'm hoping that we are going to keep to that end of next year date. Thank you.
Councillor Borrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to endorse what's led to this conclusion in the papers that we see today. And I think one of the reasons that Breckland Council is an exemplary, well-run council is that difficult decisions are taken when there is pressure, and I'm specifically thinking here that none of the opposition supported this proposal as we go forward, and it's great to hear it being endorsed by full council today, but there was an awful lot of noise that this should not be the course of action that Breckland Council took. And the Cabinet meeting, I think, was particularly fractious, with people saying that this shouldn't be what the Council done. And I'm just looking at the conclusions in 40 and 41 of the report. It says that to incorporate the review into the full update of the Breckland plan is logical, pragmatic, proportionate and reasonable. And it goes on to say, these particular and specific circumstances is justified and effective. I recommend that the partial review is adopted without amendment. My report sets out the reasons for these recommendations. And I think that is very, very, very clear that Cabinet, despite pressure not to make this decision, and despite a lot of noise, made exactly the right decision in the interests of the residents of Breckland. And I think that a mature and responsible administration that we have here, I'm very glad to be able to support it, and I support the recommendations in this paper.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clausen, you have a question? No? Okay, he was twitching.
we all do in Morris speaks.
Yeah. Okay, members, there are 4 recommendations. Are members happy for me to take a vote en bloc for these? All four agreed? Okay. You've heard the proposals. Can I ask then all in favour, please? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? 1. Okay. Okay, Julie, you've got the numbers? Yep. Okay, thank you. So these recommendations have been approved. Thank you, members. Item 10 on the agenda, nominations for committees and other seats. To receive nominations for any changes to the committee and other seats from political groups. Councillor Suggett, please.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So apologies, I have got a few, so please bear with. On the planning committee, could I please remove Tina Cadell from being a substitute and put Councillor Jacob Morton on? On governance and audit, could I please take Jacob Morton off being a substitute and put Councillor Paul Plummer on? And on the licensing committee, could I please take Jacob Morton off and put Councillor Taylor on? And on the outside bodies, I've got the Police and Crime Commission. If Councillor Gordon Bambridge could be removed as a substitute and Councillor Alison Webb be placed on that one. The Norfolk Strategic Flood Alliance is missing a substitute, so I would like to place Mark Kiddle-Morris on as a substitute. And the East of England Local Government Association Local Government Employers Panel, which is a new body, I would like to place Tristan Ashby on. And again, the East of England Local Government Association Improving Outcomes and Communities Panel, which is another new group, I would please like to place Helen Crane on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jeremy, have you any?
Thank you, Chairman. No changes to seats, but I would just ask full council to note, after 12 years, this is my last full council meeting as the leader of the Labour Group. Immediately following the meeting, I'm very pleased to confirm that Councillor Harry Clark will be taking over as Group Leader and Councillor Stuart Terry will be taking over as Deputy Leader, and I wish them all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Councillor Ashwell, have you any?
No changes from me, Leader, but could I just say at this point, because that's a bit shocking news, could I pay tribute to Councillor Jeremy for being the Leader of Opposition. He was a great guide to me when I first started on this council 4.5 years ago, and I really appreciate all the hard work that he's done to provide effective opposition for this council, because whatever we think of each other and our particular policies and political beliefs, it is important that we do have an opposition that is effective to hold the executive to account. So thank you for that, Terry. That's much appreciated. Job well done.
Did you want to say anything? No? Yep, I'll invite the leader just to make a comment on that.
Good, thanks, Chairman, and thanks for indulging me. The MO nodded as well, so it must be all right. Terry, I will miss our spars across the chamber over these last 5 years. I know that we go way back from my time when we were at the Town Council together. I know that you've led and held this executive under myself and William and others to account, and you will continue to do so in that full position as a backbench member. And I know that you'll be urging Harry on and giving him that wise guidance and counsel, which you always do. And Harry, I know that you do play with a straight bat. I know that we don't always agree on everything, as Councillor Attwell alluded to, but you've always got the residents at heart, not just in Dereham, but across the whole district. And I look forward to welcoming you to your place, asking me those first set of questions at our next full council meeting.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, and I always found Terry pleasant opposition anyway, so I can concur. Okay, so we'll move on to item 11.
Got any changes?
Yeah, I've asked, he hasn't had any, but then he went into his speech. Right, amendments to the Constitution, if any. I'm not aware of any. No, thank you, Rob. Item 12, any other items which I decide are urgent? I haven't got anything. So, with that, before I close the meeting, I'd like to say thank you to residents and viewers on our social YouTube channels. And thank you very much, and thank you everybody in the chamber for attending today. I now close the meeting.